So I've been really busy with work and some personal stuff, so I haven't had a ton of time to record a platinum video. So I decided to do what I thought would be a quick and relaxing platinum. Now, for reference, I used to play Minecraft quite a bit, and I thought I could just jump in, conquer this game, and have a video out in a couple of days. Boy, was I mistaken. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't a super challenging platinum, but I went into this thinking it would only take 5 to 10 hours. I mean, it's Minecraft. I was expecting that I would just have to make a few tools, mine some iron, kill a zombie, and the platinum would pop like that. Oh boy, was I mistaken. Now, before all you Minecraft nerds come destroy me in the comments because I didn't use the optimal redstone build, or one time I mined a tree with a pickaxe, I haven't played this game in years and I was trying to go in blind, so leave me be. So, without further ado, here is the platinum for Minecraft. I started my journey with the freebie trophies such as taking inventory, getting wood, benchmarking, and time to mine. You get these for the equivalent of breathing, so I won't go into much detail. My first objective was just to build a house as an HQ to keep my stuff, but before I did that, I was greeted by a lovely village to raid. I stole anything not nailed down, harvested their crops, and was on my way to find a lovely place to build my house. After building my cube of wood, I created a furnace to cook some food for my hunger bar, also unlocking the Hot Topic trophy. I then proceeded to spend a fair amount of time mining iron and copper to unlock the Acquire Hardware trophy, as well as creating a mini stable for my animals to live. So far, everything was going according to plan. Foreshadow, 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 foreshadow. I decided to head back out and continue mining because my next goal was to find diamonds. I figured the best place to start was directly underneath my house, so I started digging. I found an underwater cave, which this particular seed seems to love, and decided to take a dive of faith and hope there was an air hole somewhere. And you know those movies where the hero has to swim through some underwater cavern and makes it up for air at the very last minute? Well, I mined for about an hour, finding literally nothing before deciding to boot up Crimson Desert to feel something. That game is something else. The next day, I finished up mining and headed up to the surface where I encountered my first real obstacle of this platinum run. I have no frickin' idea where I am. For the foreseeable future, I lived at the village as I traded garbage I found for emeralds, since I would be needing the Haggler trophy at some point. And I gathered materials needed to craft a map, which I figured was my best chance of getting home. After mining for a bit, I built a map, opened it with anticipation, and discovered that I wasn't even in the same section of the world my house was built in, and I knew I was in trouble. After aimlessly wandering for a bit, I decided to continue mining and deal with this problem later. And this next part is where I made the second great error of my Minecraft journey. So because I didn't have a home base, I was basically just carrying all of my belongings with me. I was a homeless person carrying their bundle on a stick and didn't have a lot of room to spare. In my infinite wisdom, I decided that I didn't need to carry wood because wood is so plentiful and it would be a waste of a slot. I assume I was drunk when I made this decision. Well, I started mining and was pleasantly surprised to finally find gold, redstone, and the elusive diamond. This, of course, earned me the Diamonds trophy and was the next step toward getting me to the Nether. Everything was coming up, Eric. That is until my last pickaxe broke. I was out of wood and 600 feet underground. So I spent the foreseeable future punching stone with my bare hands until I was able to climb my way out of this hole that I had dug. The worst part? Yeah, that hurt. Once I made it out of the cave, I knew enough was enough and I had to find my real home again. So I began the journey. I knew my original home had to be near the village, so I started there and just picked a direction to walk. I made it a fair distance before getting absolutely pulverized by a phantom, one of the most annoying and unnecessary mobs Minecraft has ever introduced. I know that if you sleep, they don't spawn, but I have trophies to grind, so I never bothered. Luckily, I made it back to where I died, grabbed my stuff, and like a beautiful angel appearing in the night sky, I found my house. For the first time since this platinum run had started, I really felt like I was in a good spot. I set my spawn and continued mining underground. But before that, I created a dispenser for the dispense with this trophy, as well as created a hoe for the more tools trophy. As expected, mining was fairly uneventful, and I only found a bit of iron and a couple of gold pieces. Now that I had a map of my zone, I decided to do some exploring, and while out, I came across the biggest game changer of the platinum run up to this point, a broken down nether portal. I grabbed the contents of the chest, including a golden apple, which will be needed later in the run for curing zombie villager, as well as the coveted obsidian. After spending 3 to 5 business days mining the obsidian, I headed home to put up my nether portal. Once built, I lit the nether portal and was greeted with both a trophy and the single worst seed for a nether portal I've ever seen. As I said at the beginning of the video, I used to play Minecraft all the time, and so I thought the nether was going to be a walk in the park. The nether proved to be my greatest enemy of this entire run. And it wasn't because of the mobs. It was because, for the life of me, I could not find a nether fortress. For people unfamiliar, to get to the end, you need blaze rods to create ender eyes. To get blaze rods, you need to kill, you guessed it, blaze. Blaze are only found in nether fortresses. For reference, the last time I played Minecraft was on console when the maps were finite, so finding a nether fortress was pretty straightforward and you didn't have to walk that far. Let me tell you, Infinite Worlds was a rude awakening. And before you get me in the comments saying, huh, you could have used the super infinite compass of Xandor to traverse the nether in optimal efficiency. I'm going in blind with what knowledge I previously had. I didn't want to spend hours researching everything that had been made in the last 10 years. So I entered the nether and was immediately met with 600 mobs rushing me. I fought them off the best I could, and in the process got the Return to Sender trophy for yeeting a fireball back at a ghast, and then realized that I was far too underprepared for the nether. So I left to grab more materials. While doing this, I grabbed the trophy The Lie for baking a cake, the trophy Repopulation for breeding 2 cows with wheat, the trophy When Pigs Fly for causing a pig to take fall damage while riding it, and the Archer trophy for quick scoping a creeper. Now that I had gathered a few more materials, I knew I was ready to head back into the nether. The next part is where I made my second grave error of this run. Instead of marking down where the nether portal was using coordinates, I decided to pick it up and carry it with me. Now, when I used to play Minecraft, the map wasn't infinite, so picking up the nether portal and then replacing it later wasn't a big deal, because it would pop you out relatively close to where you started. Well, it turns out the way Minecraft calculates where you pop out of the nether is fairly simple. It multiplies X and Z coordinates of where you are in the nether by 8, and that's where you exit the nether. Wow, I didn't know that. But boy, do I learn that later. So I start working my way through the nether, fighting mobs and looking for a nether fortress. After about an hour of searching, I came up completely empty and I'm slowly running out of resources, so I decided to take a break and re-strategize at home. I rebuilt the nether portal that I took, went through and popped out in the middle of absolutely frickin' nowhere. I gathered some resources and decided to head back to the nether and worry about this later. After not finding a nether fortress for about 20 minutes, I stumbled upon this giant prison-like structure with hostile pig-headed dudes. I bashed one skull in with an enchanted sword I had found and earned the Overkill trophy, before looting the prison for everything my grubby paws could get their hands on. I have to say that stuff like this is so cool. I really enjoyed my time with this game, specifically for these randomly spawned biomes. I had no idea these structures were even a thing, so stumbling upon it was really exciting. I make my way out, and after a bit more exploring, I bit the bullet and decided to leave the nether and accept the fact I was going to be far from home. I built a compass and proceeded to walk to Mordor. After literally an hour of walking and swimming, I made it home. One of the trophies that I knew was going to be annoying was Rainbow Collection for collecting one of each color wool, and so I spent a bit of time going through the various colors of dye I could create and getting the Have a Shearful Day trophy for shearing a sheep. After spending a bit of time doing that, I decided it was time to do some mining. For reference, there are quite a few trophies that require mining, such as Iron Man for having a full suit of armor, music to my ears, which requires a diamond to make the jukebox, and chest full of cobblestone for mining 1,728 cobblestone and placing them in a chest. I proceeded to walk around aimlessly until I stumbled upon a ravine that actually had a mine shaft, which was big because I needed as many rails as possible for the on a rail trophy, which is one of the more annoying trophies in the game. Connected to the mine shaft was a rather plentiful cave where I found some iron, gold, and diamond, which was clutch for a few trophies I needed. I was also met with an absolute cavalcade of monsters. They would not leave me alone. I felt like I was playing Dynasty Warriors with the amount of skeletons and creepers up my ass. I decided that I would rather live a coward instead of dying a hero, so I make my leave and head home. Once home, I created an enchanting table using my shiny new diamond, unlocking the enchanter trophy, and also unlocked the librarian trophy for building bookshelves. The next section of my run was spent getting some miscellaneous trophies, such as Iron Man for wearing a full suit of iron armor, It's a Sign for, well, building a sign, the Haggler for acquiring 30 emeralds by trading or mining, and the Leader of the Pack for befriending 5 wolves. My next main objective was to track down some miscellaneous things that I'll need, such as cactus, sea pickle, and an ocelot, so I begin my next journey. I won't bore you with this next part because all I did was ride in a boat and dig up sand for about an hour. Eventually, I got bored and decided to head back to the Nether to take another stab at finding a fortress. Following 30 minutes of getting my ass beat in the Nether, I made a grave error and ended up dying to a punk ass skeleton that knocked me into lava. Now, as I said before, I am not against cheesing my way to this trophy, so I closed my game and reopened it to one of the greatest horrors a Minecraft player can experience. I was caught in an infinite death loop. What this means is that all the materials I had gathered over the last few hours were swallowed up in darkness and completely gone. This was disappointing to say the least, and I knew that I needed a new strategy. So I duplicated the world and switched over to creative and decided to find the Nether Fortress and End Portal in creative. As you can guess, you can't earn trophies in creative, which is why I duplicated the world first. Since I was already in the overworld, I grabbed some ender eyes and started throwing them. For those uninitiated, the end can be found by throwing an ender eye and then following the direction it goes in. After about 10 minutes of spamming the ender pearls, I found a stronghold and started exploring until I found the coveted end portal. Except there was no end portal. The stronghold was completely empty. And after doing some research, I discovered that not every stronghold had an end portal, and that for some reason the ender eyes still led to the empty stronghold. Luckily, after heading home, I was able to track down another stronghold that actually had an end portal, thank God. I marked down the coordinates in my handy dandy notebook and proceeded to enter the Nether in search of a fortress. After flying around a bit, I finally discovered one. Unfortunately, the coordinates in the Nether were about 2,000 meters away from the entrance, so it was going to be a bit of a walk, but it was the only fortress I had found, and thus took my loss and switched back to survival and began the grueling journey through the Nether. As I said at the beginning, the worst part of this entire platinum run was working through the Nether. The main reasons were because of how many blocked paths and oceans of lava I came across and had to maneuver around. It was a lot of strip mining through walls and creating bridges over the lava. None of it was challenging, but just tedious and time consuming. After what felt like a 40-hour work week of traveling, I made it to the coveted fortress and the blaze spawner. Before switching off peaceful, I blocked off the area to keep blaze from floating away, created a little hidey hole for myself, and switched back to easy difficulty. I killed my first blaze, earning me the Into Fire trophy, before proceeding to slaughter an entire generation of blaze. I collected a fat amount of blaze rods because I wanted to be as certain as possible that I wouldn't need to ever come back to this Nether fortress. After doing some internal reflecting, I decided that I would rather walk back home in the overworld. even though it would be 8 times the distance as opposed to walking home in the Nether. So I built my Nether portal and proceeded on my way for about 3,000 blocks until I realized this was going to take until my kid graduated from college. And I don't have kids yet. That's how long it was going to take. Now, I did grab some sea pickles and cactus, which was needed for the rainbow wool trophy, and made a detour to a jungle where I made friends with a cat, earning the lion hunter trophy. So it wasn't a complete waste of time. I proceeded to rebuild the nether portal and made my way home the challenging yet efficient way. I didn't go all the way home because I couldn't remember where the original nether portal was, so I just plopped it down somewhere close-ish and was greeted with a cave ripe for mining. I discovered some diamonds, which was huge because I still needed a few more for some various trophies and wanted diamond armor for the end dragon. Once I was home, I made some more dye for the rainbow wool, earning me the rainbow collection trophy. I looked through my trophies to check what was needed. The one that stuck out to me was Staying Frosty for swimming with a lava resistance trophy, which I'd seen earlier but hadn't paid too much attention to because I couldn't even make potions yet. I looked up how to make it, and you needed nether wart and magma cream. I checked my chests and already had magma cream, so I just needed nether wart. None of my chests had any, and so I made a quick trip to the nether to grab some, only to make the most horrifying discovery up to this point of the journey. Nether wart can only be found in a bastion or a nether fortress.
Flashback.
I collected a fat amount of blaze rods because I wanted to be as certain as possible that I wouldn't need to ever come back to this nether fortress.
End of flashback.
I was not happy. Before making that journey, I wanted to take care of a few things first, so I brewed a potion of weakness, which would be needed for curing a zombie villager. This also earned me the local brewery trophy, which was a nice little bonus. I spent some time building a huge pathway for the on a rail trophy. For reference, you have to ride a minecart 500 meters, which is the equivalent of 500 blocks in one direction. It may seem obtuse to build a pathway in the sky, but it's quite a large distance, and I didn't want some drunk cow to stumble on the pathway and stop my progress. Also, the seed I had spawned in had almost no flat land, so I figured this would be the next best thing. I was a little low on iron and wood, so I did a bit more mining before taking the rail I'd built and getting one of the most annoying trophies on a rail. With that out of the way, I also decided to get the Diamonds for You trophy for throwing diamonds at another player. None of my friends wanted to hop on Minecraft because they have priorities, so I plugged in a second controller, created an account, and chucked diamonds at second knee, earning the trophy. I then proceeded to spend an inordinate amount of time making a trap for both a zombie villager and a skeleton that I could use for the zombie doctor and sniper duel trophies. For zombie doctor, you have to cure a zombie villager, which requires throwing a potion of weakness at a zombie villager and then feeding it a golden apple. The reason you have to trap them is that it takes a couple of minutes before the zombie is healed, or so I thought. The trophy is actually bugged, and throwing a potion of weakness is all that was needed for the trophy to pop. Following that, I captured a skeleton and forced it to the front of my crudely made prison before heading to my base's roof and sniping the skeleton like I was playing Rust in Modern Warfare 2. I then faced the facts that I needed to go back to the nether to get the stupid nether wart. So I spent the next hour slowly working my way back to the nether fortress I had discovered earlier. I grabbed the nether wart, retraced my steps, and made it home to create the potion of fire resistance. The last step was to go bathe in lava, which earned me the Stay Frosty trophy. The final hurdle of this journey was upon me, the end. I spent some time gathering resources, farming endermen for ender pearls, enchanting, and working my way over to the end portal. For reference, I had full diamond armor, an enchanted nether sword, a bow, and enough food for a small village. Once I made it to the end, I realized I was really close to 100 days and thought it would be cool for the trophy to kill the ender dragon to also be my final trophy. So I stood and waited like a kid on Christmas for the 100 days trophy to unlock. Only it didn't. I did some research and found out the game calculates days by actual amount of time played and not actual days passed. So the 100 days on my screen, yeah, that was a fat lie. I said screw it and hopped into the end portal, unlocking the trophy, the end, racing for the final battle. I was a little nervous just because I didn't have a lot of material to spare and my home was thousands of blocks away. I had a save point, but knew that if I got screwed like that time in the Nether, then it would be bad news. It turns out there was nothing to be afraid of because the Ender Dragon folded like origami. To say he choked would be an understatement. After killing the Ender Dragon, I hopped out of the end and earned the End Trophy for killing the Ender Dragon. The final trophy of this hunt was also arguably the easiest because I literally didn't have to do anything. So for the most anticlimactic part of this trophy hunt, I left my console on while I caught up on the newest season of Invincible. Really great show. I think they knocked it out of the park. And the newest season has lived up to my expectations so far. I think my favorite part has been seeing Omni-Man and his relationship with, oh, and I'm done. I unlocked passing the time, which means all trophies in the base game have been unlocked, and I am awarded the Platinum Trophy. Awarded all trophies. Overall, I had a great time with this Platinum. Minecraft is such an iconic and fun game. I wish some of the world was a little easier to traverse because that did get a bit tedious at times, but for the most part, I had a great time and it was well worth the journey. Minecraft has come a long way, and it was wild seeing all the new features and additions. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.